top 10 safest countries to be in if World War III breaks out. World War III clearly isn't something that we wish to happen. However, with stress in between the US, North Korea, and Russia reaching an all-time high this year, the threat of World War III is ending up being very real. So we'd most likely recommend you read on. Below is a list of the top 10 safest countries to be if World War III breaks out. Is your nation on the list? Scroll down for a video. According to experts, the world was closer to a catastrophic and bloody World War III last year than at any other point in the previous 60 years. With Russia and China pumping large quantities of cash into their militaries, both countries could soon equal the United States in regards to power and prestige. Tensions between the United States and Russia's President Putin reached boiling point over disagreements over the Syrian conflict. And things have escalated further following accusations that Russia interfered with U.S. elections. Now with the Trump administration's tensions over Syria and North Korea, relations seem much more stretched than ever. An all-out nuclear war could be devastating for most of the world. However, luckily there are still a few safe houses left that would avoid destruction. Would you be safe if World War III breaks out? As we supposedly teeter on the edge of a thermonuclear Armageddon triggered by World War III, the excellent individuals over at the I-100 have actually used the Global Peace Index 2017, to work out a list of the safest locations to hide from the coming storm. Here's a list of the safest places to be on Earth should war break out. Ireland. Where much better to get a pint and wait on World War III to blow over than Ireland. The beer's excellent, individuals get along and they've got the finest crisps worldwide, Tano if you were questioning. Far more importantly though, for your survival, they've practiced neutrality considering that the First World War remaining the two and implying they'll most likely pass on fighting this time also. Switzerland. Fantastic chocolate, and a lack of beaches aside, Switzerland is the perfect place to sit out the Armageddon. They're the earliest neutral country in the world, considering that 1815, and they've not fought a foreign war because signing the Treaty of Paris. Even much better, they're surrounded by mountains which act as a natural barrier against invading forces and 30% of Swiss citizens own weapons, so they know the best ways to care for themselves should anyone overcome the mountains. Slovenia. Not an apparent option, however, Slovenia's investing heavily in renewable energy sources, handling to produce 22% of its energy needs from green sources. They likewise managed to keep their heads down during World War I and World War II, so fingers crossed they can do it again. Unfortunately, Russian airplanes have apparently been flying over the nation a lot recently, so perhaps attempt elsewhere very first? Fiji. Stunning and separated Fiji is another best place to suffer World War III. Denmark. Okay, this needs some credentials. Denmark itself isn't the very best place to conceal from jackbooted soldiers marching throughout Europe. However, it's got a distinct advantage over other countries on this list. It controls Greenland, a huge island which is politically unaligned and relatively remote. Austria. Austria is another odd one, what with it being slap-bang in the middle of Europe and contributing to World War I and World War II, but because then, it's tidied up its act. It's now ranked 4th out of 163 nations in the Global Peace Index 2017, so quite serene then. Portugal. Portugal has actually been explained as an ocean of stability who've handled to prevent most wars because World War II, plus the sardines are tasty. New Zealand. Another isolated nation which is dedicated to providing its own power through renewable sources. Regrettably, they're not exactly pacifists fighting in two world wars, Vietnam, the Second Boer War, the Korean War, the Gulf War and the Afghanistan War. Canada. Canada is the greatest nation on the planet, so obviously, it's a terrific place to prevent a war. It's likewise the 8th most serene and scored a 1.1 from 5 for domestic and global conflict, suggesting it's one of the least involved countries when it pertains to war. Iceland. Iceland is primary on the Global Peace Index, making it the most tranquil country worldwide. It's likewise in the middle of nowhere, presumably leaving it well away from the bulk of the fighting. Unless naturally, fishing is at stake, then you can ensure they'll be included.